I'm the librarian, and last year my role really was just to sort of help everybody figure out, including myself, how to use these devices. And I think one of the most important things that we've heard today is that it's a computer in your pocket, and it's literally that. And the mobility of it is just, as you've seen by the examples, it's just made it a wonderful tool, and the kids have had a lot of fun with it. But teachers have had a lot of fun with it too, and that's infectious. Some of the ways that we're going to try to use it more in the library this year, book talking is one of them, as Mike showed you. But it's also a reference tool, so the kids don't always have to be in here. If I have classes in here, if I have stuff like today going on, and the kids can't get to the library, there's a reference. It's a good reference tool. You saw stuff about the European Union, you saw CIA World Factbook, there's some of the other ones that we're using, dictionary.com and thesaurus. There's all kinds of newspapers and magazines that you can access, so kids can look up articles on particular subjects, but it doesn't have to be the article that the teacher chose. It can be an article that they chose. And then you can now start having a discussion about the way the article was written, what information was put in it, how was it written, what was the audience. And so you can start having these discussions with kids in the classroom, and media literacy becomes a really important, something that's very important right now because the kids are using the internet so much. So literacy now is expanded to media literacy. So Wikipedia, you know, the kids love using Wikipedia. I use Wikipedia. It's usually one of the first hits whenever you search for something. But the students need to understand that Wikipedia is a wiki. It's something that can be edited by anybody. So now you can look up something on Wikipedia, and then you can look at other sources in order to validate what is on Wikipedia. Is that correct information? So media literacy starts to improve, and you really start to have these discussions with kids in order to get them to analyze and look critically at information. And that goes beyond the internet to the books that we have in our library and the books that there will be access to all over. So that critical thinking component becomes really something that we can use quite usefully in the classroom using this little tool. And I want to emphasize it is just a tool. Last year we had a lot of people, especially parents, well, you're just going to have this and you wouldn't be using anything else. Well, we use print resources, we use computer resources, we use all of these different sources in order to enhance what the kids are learning. And one thing you can do, there's a wonderful application, lots of free books. You can use Stanza, which is like Shelfari, if you're familiar with that, and kids can organize and look at the books that they're reading and create bookmarks for these books. Stanza has teamed up with different resources like Project Gutenberg, so there's 50,000 free reading material on Project Gutenberg that kids can get through Stanza. One of them is Shakespeare. This is a free app that you have everything that Shakespeare ever did. And the kids can now read something at their leisure in the classroom. They get done with something early. They just want to look at something on where they're at. So all the kids are at different places. They can examine things, and it's supposed to go landscape.
Pick it up.
And so, and landscape's a much easier way for the kids to read things, and then they can just read at their own pace. And they have this, so if kids are reading at different paces, you don't have to have 30 books in the classroom. Now we have it all on here. So media literacy, reference tool, computer in your pocket. This is all just wonderful ways, and you've seen excellent examples of how the teachers have been using it in the classroom. And this year we're working more and more to try to find better ways to use it in cooperation with the library as well. And I really like the book talk idea. It's much more fun having kids book talk than listening to one of us. So these are just some of the ways that we're trying to use it in the library.